Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back into my channel. So in this lab, we're going to talk about NoSQL database and Cosmos DB. So this is the Microsoft Azure website. I like to go on there because this is the best website to check out documentation about their own platform, Azure. So NoSQL database, what is NoSQL? An overview for getting started. What are NoSQL database? So NoSQL database are interchangeably referred to as non-relational. So NoSQL DB or non-SQL to highlight the fact that they can handle huge volume of rapidly changing unstructured data in different ways to a relational SQL database with rows and tables. NoSQL technologies have been around since 1960s under various names, but are enjoying a surge in popularity as the data landscape shifts and developers need to adapt to handle the sheer volume and vast haul of data integrated from the cloud, mobile, social media, and big data. From viral celebrity tweets to life-saving information in electronic medical records, new data and data types are being generated in a dizzying pace. For NoSQL database, have evolved to help developers quickly create database systems to store the new information and make it readably available for search, consolidation, and analysis. Now, the benefit of NoSQL database. NoSQL database help IT pros and developers manage the new challenges of ever-expanding diversity of data types and models, and are highly effective and handling unpredictably data, often with blazing fast query speed, and also provide a smooth database migration to the cloud for existing NoSQL workload. So it's kind of showing develop with agility. So with the ability to respond to unplanned situation, NoSQL database cater to frequent software release cycle and are suitable for faster and more agile app development. So handle data with flexibility. NoSQL gives developers more freedom, speed, and flexibility to change both schema and query to adapt the data requirements. Information store as an aggregated, make it easier for quick interactive improvements without having to do it up for schema design. So it operates at any scale. So NoSQL can provides compelling operational data, advantages and saving with the ability to scale out regionally or add less expensive servers without having to upgrade. They can scale to handle more data or hold a single large database within a highly distributable clusters of servers. So it shows you type of data model with NoSQL. So the key value, document, column, graph. This is a pretty interesting article, I would say how to choose between relational SQL and non-relational SQL. So it's kind of giving you no relational, NoSQL or non-relational, SQL or relational. So it's best for what? And they both here. So NoSQL handle large unrelated and third like indeterminate or rapidly changing data. Schema agnostic data. I mean, you could take a look at this yourself. There is a bit of slide that I prepare. I would prefer as a matter of fact, let's look at Cosmos DB2. So fast distributed NoSQL and relational database at any scale. So Azure Cosmos DB. So develop high performance application at any size or scale with a fully managed and serverless distributed database supporting open source Postgre, SQL, MongoDB, and Apache Cassandra. So get automatic and instant scalability with CLA backed single digit millisecond read and write and 99.999% availability for NoSQL data. Deploy and scale applications with distributed Postgre SQL using the latest version tool and extensions. So Azure Cosmos DB now support Postgre with more whatever. I don't know. So it's unparalleled performance at any scale with instance and limited elasticity, fast read, and multi-region wide anywhere in the world. It's fast, flexible app development with free dev test option, multi SDK, which is software development kit, and support for open source Postgre, MongoDB, Apache Cassandra. So ready to mission critical application with 99.99999% availability, continuous backup, and enterprise grade security. It pays for only what you use with a cost-effective, responsive, and fully managed serverless database that scales elasticity with your app. So it's kind of showing like scale any workload without limit, auto scale, provision throughput, best for unpredictable traffic and high performance requirement. So deliver high performance with a range of scalability option to meet your application needs. For scale out architecture for extra elasticity and auto scale to traditional scale up of nodes and storage. Azure Cosmos DB offers the best for both worlds to match the needs of your workload for any size and scale. When your most important application worry-free anywhere in the world with always on availability. So it explains here serverless, best for periodic traffic and moderate performance requirement. So start small and grow with serverless. So Azure Cosmos DB for PostgreSQL, scale performance and elasticity. Build the high performance native Postgre. So I think you could take a look at these yourself. I guess I should jump on the little slide that I prepared here. So Azure Function, Event Grid, Azure Monitor. So customers often use these products with Azure Cosmos DB. So they use Azure Functions with Cosmos DB and Event Grids in Azure Monitor. And then start with a free, oh yeah, I get that, okay. All right, guys, so let me just jump here. my little, whoop, what was that? That here. Okay. All right, so implement NoSQL database. So Azure Table Storage is a service that stores structured NoSQL database in the cloud, providing a key attribute store with a schemaless design. Because table storage is schemaless, it's easy to adapt your data as the needs of your application evolve. So access to table storage that is data is fast and cost effective for many types of application and is typically lower in cost than traditional SQL for similar volume of data, guys. Azure Table Storage store large amount of structured data. The service is a NoSQL data store which accept authenticated calls from inside and out the Azure cloud. Azure tables are ideal for storing structured non-relational data. Common use of table storage includes storing TB, of structured data capable of serving web scale applications. Storing data sets that don't require complex join foreign keys or stored procedures that can be denormalized for fast access. You can use table storage to store and query huge sets of structured non-relational data, and your table will scale as demands increase. So guys, this is an overview of Azure Cosmos DB. So Azure Cosmos DB is a globally distributed, elastically scalable database. It has the guarantee of low latency that is backed by a comprehensive set of service level agreement, SLAs. Consistency can sometimes be an issue when you are working with distributed system, but Azure Cosmos DB alleviates this situation by offering you a sustained level of performance. So retail and marketing, Azure Cosmos DB is used extensively in Microsoft-owned e-commerce platforms that run the Windows Store and Xbox Live. It is also used in retail industry for storing catalog data and for event sourcing in order processing pipelines. So catalog data usage scenario involve storing querying a set of attributes for entities such as people, places, products. Some examples of catalogs data are user account, products, catalogs, Internet of Things, devices, registry, and bill of materials. So system attributes for this data may vary and can change over time to suit application requirements. So guys, for the sake of not making this video too long, so consider an example of a product catalog that, for an automotive parts supplier. Every part may have its own attributes in addition to the common attributes that all parts share. Furthermore, attributes for a specific part can change the following year. When a new model is released, Azure Cosmos DB supports flexible schema and hierarchical data, and thus it is well suited for storing product catalog data. So you get a browser, you get Azure Web App, e-commerce web, your Azure Storage Log Static, catalog content, and you get the Azure Cosmos DB product catalog, Azure Cosmos DB session state, and Azure Search full text and indexes. So you get all kind of social application that can be on there. So a common use cases for Azure Cosmos DB is to store and query user generated content, UGC, for web, mobile, and social media applications. Some example of this UGC or chat sessions, tweets, blogs, posts written, and comments. Often the UGC in social media application is a blend of free-form text, properties, and tags. Content such as chat, comments, and posts can be stored in Cosmos DB without requiring transformation of complex object to relational mapping layers. So data properties can be added or modified easily to match requirements as developers iterate over the application's code, thus promoting rapid development. Application that integrates with third-party social network must respond to changing schema from these networks as data is automatically indexed by default in Cosmos DB. Data is ready to be queried at any time. Hence, these applications have the flexibility to retrieve projections as per their responsive needs. Many of the social applications were at global scale and can inhibit unpredictable usage pattern. Flexibility in scaling the data store is essentially as the application layer scales to match usage demands. Go another. So just to avoid making this video too long, why don't we go ahead and perform a demo? Create a Cosmos DB database. But it explained here so the database tier is a critical, is crucial component of gaming application. Modern games perform graphical processing, mobile console client, but rely on the cloud to deliver customized and personalized content like in game state, social media integration, and high score. A leaderboard game often requires single millisecond latency for read and write to provide an encouraging in-game experience. So a game database needs to be fast and be able to handle massive spikes in request rates during new game launch and future updates. So Azure Cosmos DB is used by by games like The Walking Dead, No Man's Land, by Next Game, the Halo 5, Guardian. Cosmos DB provides the following benefit to game developer. So, again, if you're interested in know more about this topic, these topics, you could always stop this anywhere you feel like it's it's interesting to you and look at it. But for the sake of not making this video too long, let me just pull up the packet. Let me pull up this Azure Portal and start create a Cosmos DB account. So basically, we'll go to the portal. If you have it here, you just create an account and which API best suited your workload. But if it's Azure DB for NoSQL, Azure Cosmos DB for Apache Cassandra, Azure Cosmos DB for PostgreSQL, so DB for table, MongoDB, or Apache Gremlin. So we'll choose this one. Now we got to give it a name. Not a name, but first of all, we got to put it in a region. RG1. Give it a name that can be unique for it. So let's call it AZ C for Cosmos. Let's call it CMS, and then CMS DB. No SQL. Say one. Name is taken already. 001. Okay, so name is taken. As name content only lowercase. Okay, I see. Let's say AZCMS. Okay, Cosmos. Let's say DB. No SQL. No SQL. I can put this on ECUS. I prefer ECUS better than it looks like it doesn't have the option, so not a central US. Let's leave it on the West Central then. And for capacity mode, this says choose the capacity mode of your database choice. Now the account, the location, just select a geographical location to host your Azure Cosmos DB account. Now for provision, I can leave this on provision throughput serverless or serverless. It's either or, but I'll leave that by default. So they apply with Azure Cosmos DB free tier, you could get first. So I prefer the apply not to apply the tier discount. You will get your first 1,000 RU per second and the 25 gigabyte of storage for free in an account. So the limit total account throughput, you could select yes or no, but I would prefer so the limit, the total amount of throughput can be provisioned on this account. So this limit prevent unexpected charge related to provision throughput. So you can update or remove this limit after your account is being created. So it's very flexible. Not sure why it doesn't show me the ECUS as an option. It doesn't provide the ECUS, just OS. Okay, so I'll just leave that here. I can say do not apply, or I could say apply. No difference. Okay, so now let me now note that now let's see, use next. Now for global distribution, you could put this on geo redundancy. You can enable this. You can enable or disable global distribution on your account by pairing your region with a pair region. You can add more than one region, guys, or you could do that later. But I'll leave this disabled for multi-region rights. It's a multi-region rights capability allow you to take advantage of the provision throughput for your database and containers across the globe. So I'll leave this as default. Now for networking, you can configure access from a virtual network. I don't have one. Just leave it there as default. Now for backup policy, you can either, periodic or continuous backup policy. I'll leave this as default. Now for tags, there's no need to configure the encryption. I don't really need that. But if you read it, it says Azure Cosmos DB encryption protects your data at rest by seamlessly encrypted your data as it's written in our data center. So and automatically decrypted it for you as you access it. So by default, Azure Cosmos DB account is encrypted at rest using the service. So I'll leave that like that. Just review and create. So let's create. Now, guys, this might take a little bit of time for it to create. At least article says that it might take about 15 minutes. So if that's the case, I apologize for that. And hopefully it doesn't take that long. So now if you wonder what is the difference between Azure DB and Cosmos DB? Well, Azure SQL is based on SQL Server Engine and can easily migrate applications and continue to use the tool languages and sources that you are familiar with. Azure Cosmos DB is used for web, mobile gaming, and Internet of Things application that needs to handle massive amount of data reads and write at a global scale. So Azure Cosmos DB is pretty much what Microsoft uses the most. Now, if you wonder what is Azure Cosmos DB as an example of, I would say Azure Cosmos DB is a fully managed platform as service, PaaS. So if you asking, wow, that was pretty fast. If you asking, is Azure Cosmos DB a document database? I would say Azure Cosmos DB document database is a NoSQL database that provides low latency access to JSON documents, offering a fast, highly available, scalable database services for applications that require seamless scale at global replication. So let's go here and make this and show you just something before we end this. So congratulations, your Azure Cosmos DB account was created. And if you want to, you could create a container, which is the first and the second step. But this is what's more interesting is just to go on settings here and show you different things. Now, you see here, it says that click on a location to add or remove region from your Azure Cosmos DB account. So with all these, it shows you the location that this is at. Let me see if I can zoom this a little bit so you will see it better. So the location that this is at right now is the West US, but if you click here, you will see this is a Central US. And if you want this to be at the globe level, this is like Norway with some part of Europe. And here is West Europe, as France, Central, UK, North Europe. And if you go here, this is Qatar in Africa, somewhere in Egypt. This is UAE. I don't know what that is. I'm sorry. And South Africa. So this is pretty neat. It's scalable and it's global. So it's everywhere. You have fault consistency. You get backup and storage, networking and cores. It's pretty interesting. So it's kind of like course or so core is like course origin resource sharing is an HTTP features that enables a web application running on their one domain to access resources in another domain. So web browser implement a security restriction known as same origin policy that prevents a web page from calling API in a different domain. So cause provides a secure way to allow one domain, that origin domain, to call API in another domain. It's pretty neat. So again, just to avoid making this video too long, I could choose to build if I can back out a little bit. I can choose to add a container if I want to. I wonder if this is not gonna make this video too long. So you could add a container. You could make this, say for instance, this is a, oh sorry. I could call this is a to-do list. And then would leave everything else as default. Now, when I go to the container ID, I could make this be whatever, like items. Repair keys. Now, if you want to explain all these, so the database ID here, right? It's pretty long, but I think it's pretty. So it says database. A database is analogous to a space. It is the unit of management for a set of containers. So, and the database throughput. So the database throughput auto scale or manual. So manual throughput allows you to scale request unit per second. So yourself, whereas auto scaling throughput allow the system to scale based on the usage. Now, the database ID to-do list that I put here is a name for the new database name. It must be like those characters. So share throughput across containers option is allow you to share the throughput provision. So a share throughput down there. So it's kind of allow you to share throughput provision on the database across all the containers within the database. This option also help with cost savings. So down here, database max RU/s. If you want to reduce latency, you can scale up the throughput later by estimating the requirement that you need with the capacity calculator. So note these settings isn't available when creating a new container in a serverless account. So with containers ID down here, you see it says that unique identifier for the container and use for ID based routing through REST and all the SDK. So what that is you enter the item on the name as the name of your new container. So container ID have the same character requirement as the database name too. So, and last but not least, down here where it says partition key. So the simple describer. So the partition key. So if you want to, you see it says that the partition key is used to automatically distribute the data across partition. Your partitions for scalability. Choose a property in your JSON document that has a wide range of values and evenly distributed request volume for small read heavy workload or write heavy workload of any size. ID is often a good choice. So let me go ahead and just hit OK. And the container is being added. Now, if you want to, you could add data into your database, but I'm gonna leave that for later. Again, I don't want to make this video too long. This would take forever. Now, thank you so very much for following along with me. Stay tuned. I'll see you in the next video. I don't want to make this video too long, and it's already very long. So I'll see you in the next lecture and lab. Bye bye.